Shalom.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome. Today we are going to talk about Acts 15. A little bit different kind of a subject than we're used to talking about, and it's kind of like twofold.
Yeah.
Acts 15, and really it's kind of goes into a direction of what we kind of want future videos to be about. Like we said many times before, we are not on here to gain subscribers or likes or thumbs up or whatever they're doing. We don't care. Honestly, we are here to be a light and testify of the Torah, the eternal Torah of Elohim, and to hold the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach, the Son, the Messiah. And that's all we're doing here.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about these things, now that we're going to talk about Acts 15, there's reasons behind it because we want to help those who are coming into the fold, meaning those that are the Kodeshim.
Once Gentiles.
Yeah, once Gentiles, the set apart ones that talks about in Revelation 14 and many other places, Revelation 12 and 22. 22, 21, I don't know, I do this all the time. But anyways, the people that are coming back to the commands, the Torah of our Father.
Yes.
And learning how to be set apart, and learning how to be holy. It starts with atonement, correct? I mean, we're all sinners.
Yeah.
We're all transgressing the covenant. That's what sin is, transgression of the Torah. And so we all need atonement. We come back through forgiveness and grace of the Most High through His only begotten Son.
Yes.
The atonement is by His blood. So we come back through atonement unto what? Like, why do we come back?
Yeah.
What are we coming back to?
Yeah.
Are we the prodigal son who comes back home to the Father and then takes his inheritance and goes back out into the world? No. We're the prodigal son who wakes up in the pig pen, comes back to the Father. The fatted calf is killed for us.
Yeah.
And we obey the Father.
And His rules.
And His rules in His household.
Yes.
And we stay in the household and enjoy the covenants, the promises of our Father. And if you're the older son who's in the household right now, don't get mad at these new people coming in. And that's really the gist of Acts 15, is not to get upset with your brother coming back in to the fold, coming back in to the Father's household. Because, ours is the inheritance.
Right.
We're already here. And we already know we have an inheritance through Yahuah.
Yes.
So, man, I just talked a lot. But
that's what we're here for.
so did you want to share anything before I get into this?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Jump right in.
So Acts 15, what's amazing about it is, and what I said is...
Actually, I'm going to take that back.
Go
I
ahead.
do want to say one thing.
Go ahead, then.
I think another reason why this has been impressed upon you is because it's a chapter that we've been taught to interpret a certain way our whole lives by the church.
Yeah.
And when you and this isn't about the church or throwing the church under the bus or anything like that. I'm just saying, as we have been taught certain passages of scripture and the interpretation of those passages, it has been through the lens of someone else and not through the lens of the Ruach HaKodesh, and not testing the scriptures and reading the scriptures and discerning the scriptures for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I think this is one of many passages of scriptures that has been misinterpreted, misunderstood, mistranslated, taught in a way that is incorrect. And so I think that's why, one of the reasons why this has been impressed upon you.
Sure, yeah.
So I just wanted to say that because somebody might be like, Acts 15, like what's the, it's straightforward.
Well, if you've come to Torah and you grew up in the Bible Belt like us, or grew up around any form of Christianity, here in the Bible Belt, there's a high place on every single corner. That's in Ezekiel.
What's a high place?
These churches. By the way, when we say the church, we're not talking about the assembly.
Right,
we're not talking about the assembly
That's
that was in the wilderness in Acts 7. Acts 7, 38, 28. We're not talking about the assembly of Kodeshim. We are talking about the high places that are on every corner. That's Ezekiel 13 or 15, something like that. I'm just going to throw these verses out. I will put the exact reference down later on.
Just say Acts. In Acts.
Did I say Ezekiel? I said Ezekiel,
I meant
yeah. But yeah, so where was I going with that?
The church.
Yes.
definition of the church, but you were saying the high point on every corner, and you were saying it's not talking, you're not talking about the assembly being the church.
Man, thank you so much.
What would you do without me?
I know, I don't even remember what I'm saying.
I'm here to help.
Anyway, I really honestly don't remember what I'm saying, but why don't we just continue?
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason it's important, the reason we're talking about Acts 15, and you had kind of touched on that, is for future videos is what we want to do, what we've kind of had a desire to do, and it kind of goes in two directions. The first, this is what I was saying. The first is if you have come to Torah and you've expressed or testified your excitement for finding the truth to believers in Messiah or Christians, people who don't believe in the Torah. If you've gone to people who don't believe in the Torah and you've expressed, man, this is awesome, you won't believe what I just found out. You'll quickly be met with mostly we've been met with anger, hatred, a lot of name callings, and I think overall disagreement with the way that we've chosen to follow. Sure, and they won't really talk to you anymore. But we've had. I think most people coming to Torah will kind of know. So yeah, if you're sharing the Torah with Christians who've been taught not to keep the Torah, or anyone who's been taught not to keep the Torah, you're met with probably about 5 or 6 arguments.
Right.
Most of which are from Paul, but there's some like in Acts that you'll be met with. This is one of the biggest ones. This was thrown at me by multiple people, and I had to really dig. I read, the scriptures and knew, okay, I found the truth. The Torah is the truth.
Right.
It's what it was been given from the beginning. But then I was met with a lot of people saying, hey, you're wrong because of this, and so I had to really study and seek this out, just like most of us, within Torah. I know that we've had to, really seek this out. So that's kind of what we want to go with some future videos. We want to address these things. They've been addressed many times. You can go on YouTube and find.
There's so many great teachings I think out there, but this is just our perspective. Sure.
I mean, you can go on there and find anybody, and you can read a lot of commentary, trying to find out what the truth of these things that are mentioned. And these are arguments that are used to say that we don't have to keep Torah.
And I think they're isolated arguments too. I think one verse or a couple verses or even a passage may be taken out of context without fully understanding, the before and after, or reading the entire book.
Yeah, if you start with Acts or even the Gospels and you get to Acts, I can definitely see how people can say, oh, the law's done away with.
Right.
But just like Isaiah says, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. You don't start with the last precepts. You start with the first precepts. It's precept upon precept. If you learn the first things that Yah told us, the Torah, the commands, the precepts and the statutes and judgments, and then you move on through the prophets and you learn how to use them. Right. The prophets are very good at showing how to use these commands. And then, there's so many books. But once you get to Acts, you know that if someone's preaching against keeping the Torah, okay, this is either a false prophet or mistranslation or I'm misunderstanding it. Exactly. Yeah. So that's one avenue we want to go down, is we want to explain some of these things for the people new to Torah, for the people that, just like me, when I was coming into this 5 years ago, I was like, well, okay, what about Romans 14? Okay, what about Colossians 2? Yeah. What about these things? And I had to search it out. And we want to help y'all. We want to help some of the people that are coming into this. Yeah. Who maybe they just don't know, And another avenue we want to go, and we've been talking about this for a while, we want to go through the Torah. Not necessarily like a Torah portion, but we do want to talk about individual commands. I know you're reading a lot on these individual commands and really understanding some of the things that we forget about. Everyone knows keep the Sabbath. Everyone knows about feast.
The
feast days and things like that. But we forget about these little things, you know, and to know more about them is amazing. Acts 15 is literally the first 4 commands from the Torah that a new convert should keep, according to the disciples. Now, Yeshua says all the commandments hang on these two.
Right.
You know.
But you'll get into why those four are important, I think.
Sure, but what were you going to say?
I don't remember.
But she's been studying a lot on pulling apart slowly the Torah and
breaking down these commands by the 10.
Sure.
Really. Yeah. I've been trying to understand slowly, reading the Torah, but in conjunction with that, really studying out all of these, understanding all of the 613 commands, not understanding them, but they are kind of like there's a lot of forgotten commands, right? Sure. Because so many of the bigger ones overshadow the smaller commands that we're probably all keeping, but it's a good reminder, but it's also a good way to testify to others to say, hey, you actually are keeping more than the 10. You just don't probably even think about it or realize it. Yeah. And I
know when I was first coming in, I went and read the commands and I was like, wow, I already keep half of these, and
then the others aren't, so many aren't, aren't necessarily applicable to us.
Yeah. So it's just like Yeshua said, he said, you'd be better off keeping these great commands and not neglecting the tiny ones. I'm butchering that verse, but that's what he says. He's saying, keep the big ones, but don't neglect the tiny ones. Don't neglect the little ones that my Father wrote down, the things that I keep myself. That's what Yeshua is saying.
Yeah.
So
here we are. Okay, so
hopefully this is interesting to somebody, and we're just going to go through it kind of real quick.
You need to never say real quick
probably
with us.
An hour.
Okay, yeah. So we're going to start in Acts 15, verse 1. And certain men came down from Yahuah and were teaching the brothers, unless you are circumcised according to the practice of Moshe, you are unable to be saved. And some of the believers who belonged to the sect of the Pharisees rose up, saying, it is necessary to circumcise them and to command them to keep the Torah of Moshe.
Yeah, so I don't think they really knew what to do. The disciples, you had these Pharisees who believed. Verse 5 tells you these are Pharisees who believed. I think we're taught kind of that Pharisee is a bad thing. Yeah. Like these Pharisees were horrible, but not all of them were bad. You had Nicodemus, he believed in the Messiah, and maybe it took him a little longer. And I'm sure there was other Pharisees who believed. There's another one I can't remember the name, but there's tons of Pharisees who believed, and yeah, absolutely, some of them were really bad.
Yeah,
and some of them, probably appointed by Herod, were not good. Right. They wanted to kill Messiah, and they did.
And they were teaching outside of the Torah. They were basically creating they were creating their own commands. They were creating their own law.
Absolutely. And they were using the Torah to put down other people and to sin, basically, to transgress. Yeah. But what's amazing about verse 5 is it says these are Pharisees who believed. Okay, so they believed in Mashiach, and then they believed in the atonement that was made, and they see all these Gentiles coming in to the fold, the one flock, right?
Yeah.
And they see them coming in, they're saying, whoa, wait a second. These people need to be keeping Sabbath. They need to be keeping the commands.
The feast days.
Yeah, they're not saved unless they're doing that.
Right.
And they're not saved unless they're being circumcised.
Right.
And what's interesting is the disciples, it says they had to meet together. They didn't know what to say. They didn't know what to do.
That's interesting. That's an interesting verse.
Had they, think about it. If they were walking with Yeshua and Yeshua's only goal, it was to come down, die for men, and to get rid of the law, wouldn't the disciples already know that? Wouldn't they be like, yeah, Pharisees, you're totally wrong because we don't have to keep the law anymore? It
would have been an immediate response.
Sure, yeah. And wasn't the case at all. They actually had to meet together. This is dubbed the Jerusalem Council. I can't stand calling it that. That's so seminary. I can't stand it. But they were in Jerusalem, meeting and trying to decide, hey, okay, what do we do with this? What do we do do we teach them the Torah? Because we know it's forever.
Right.
Or do we just let them be? They had no idea. So I think the first thing to really establish is that, like I said, precept upon precept, line upon line, circumcision. We need to look at the first precepts of circumcision.
Right.
Because Acts 15 is used to say that circumcision is done away with. that the Torah of Moshe, which is the Torah of Yah, the word of Yah, is done away with as well. So when you go into, so the first thing is to establish that circumcision is forever.
Right.
It's an everlasting covenant. I can't even tell you how many times within the scriptures does it say the Torah is forever?
Yes. Oh, just within Psalms.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean.
It's an everlasting covenant, a perpetual covenant from generation to generation.
Yes.
For the Israelite and for the stranger and sojourner with you.
Yes.
I mean, this is forever.
Yeah.
You know, and so...
basically the native born and the adopted.
So, I mean, I wrote down a few verses. Genesis 17:10. This is when circumcision was given. It's for all of the seed of Abraham. If you believe in Mashiach, Messiah, Yahushua, you've accepted that atoning blood for your sins. You have been grafted in to the fold of Israel.
Amen.
Okay, to the covenants of Abraham. Galatians 3:14 talks about that. Galatians 3:7, Isaiah 41:8, Ephesians 3:6, Galatians 3:28 through 29. All these are telling you you are the seed of Abraham.
Yes. If
you believe in Messiah. Okay, it's easy right there. You are Israel.
Yeah.
Okay, so
belief in that, I think, is like a catalyst for so many other doctrines that we've been taught. If you believe that, if you can come to that realization, I think it like the dominoes fall.
Absolutely.
For so many other doctrines and things that we thought we believed. Like, I get emotional when you read that because for me personally, I have just felt like somebody else that didn't really understand the word of Elohim my entire life. And I only had this little part of the book that was applicable to me. And I didn't even understand it fully. Yeah. And once I understood that we are the seed of Abraham, it is like the scales fell off for me.
To know who your true
identity is.
Your true identity, yeah. It's amazing. And it's incredible, like, what an amazing thing that we get to accept the free grace and mercy of our Elohim through the blood of Messiah.
Amen.
We get to come into all these covenants, all these amazing things, paradise. These things, the kingdom was designed for Israel.
Yeah.
And you can't get to the kingdom without being part of Israel.
Yeah.
There's 12 gates, and they're all the tribes of Israel.
Yeah.
You got to go through one. Which one are you going to go through? Yeah. There is no gate of Paul. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There is no gate of Christianity. Okay, this is all through Israel, and you've got to get grafted in.
Yeah.
You've got to get forgiven and washed clean. By the way, a Jew has to get cleaned as well.
Yeah.
There is atonement for them as well. It's the same atonement.
Yeah.
There is no Levitical order right now. There is no temple. How are you going to get atonement for your transgressions?
Right.
You know, that's the blood of Messiah. We all know that. Now, what do we do now? You know, and that's what we were just talking about. The next verse, do you want to read that? Genesis?
Sure, yeah. 17. This is my covenant which you guard between me and you and your seed after you. Every male among you is to be circumcised.
Okay. Go ahead.
And you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall become a sign of the covenant between me and you. Verse 13. He who is born in your house and he who is bought with your silver has to be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant.
Yeah, so it's everlasting. This covenant does not end. Yeah. It's forever. Yeah. And it's for all the seed of Abraham.
It's not usurped by something else.
Absolutely. Yeah. It hasn't been ended. And unfortunately, Acts 15 is used to say circumcision is done away with. What's hilarious is the very next chapter, Paul circumcises Timothy in the very next chapter. So we need
There's
to
a contradiction.
Absolutely. And like I said, you can sit here and read Acts 15. If you start in Acts 15, you might be able to come up with the idea, especially if you start with a preconceived notion of your church, or if you've come from Christianity, you'll realize, I mean, you can come in with the idea that, hey, the law's been done away with. But like I said, it's precept upon precept. You have to start with these first precepts.
Yes.
It's also within Jasher 17:18. It's an everlasting covenant.
Yes.
Also in the writings of Abraham 1:10, everlasting covenant.
Jubilee. It's actually in Jubilees 2:20 as well.
Jubilees 2:20?
I think so.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, there's so many sources telling you this is an everlasting covenant. Of course, this is within the Torah itself. It's in Deuteronomy, it's in Leviticus. Exodus 12:48 tells you the strangers need to be circumcised as well. So it's not just for Israel, it's everyone within the household. Everyone within the household must be circumcised. It's also a requirement for Passover. To celebrate Passover, you must be circumcised. Now, is this circumcision of the flesh or of the heart? It's both.
Yes.
The circumcision of the heart has to be first.
Yes.
If your heart doesn't change, your flesh, it doesn't matter what your flesh does.
Yes.
Your flesh can be circumcised or changed for Yah. You cannot eat pork, but if your heart's not in it, it means nothing.
Yes.
You can know the calendar. You can do the feast days and never fail doing them your whole life. But if your heart's not in it, if it's just tradition for you, if your heart hasn't been changed for Yah and it's not fully devoted to Yah, that is meaningless.
Yes.
And that's the same thing to go the other way too. You can be totally transformed for Yah and believe on Him and have never kept a feast day. I think it's inevitable that you will keep a feast day, but whether on this earth or the next, we're keeping feast days in the next as well. So it might be inevitable that you do that, but it's so important for your heart to be changed first.
Yes.
This is within Deuteronomy 10:16.
And you shall circumcise the foreskin of your heart and harden your neck no more.
Yeah, and Deuteronomy 36 as well is talking about the new covenant. I'm going to circumcise your heart. I'm going to change your heart for me.
Yes.
And you are going to seek me in my Torah.
Yeah.
It's also within Jeremiah 4:4.
Oh, I have to read 30 verse 6.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
It's
It's so
amazing.
good.
Yeah, read it.
And Yahuah your Elohim shall circumcise your heart and the heart of your seed. Wait a minute. The heart of your seed. Who is that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Who is that? To love Yahuah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being so that you might live. So it's not just the circumcision of our heart, but it's the next generation. It's the children's hearts that also have to be circumcised, implying perpetual covenant, an everlasting covenant.
And are you part of Israel?
Yeah.
That's the important question. If you don't think that you have Israel blood in you, there's a good chance you do. They have been scattered throughout all the nations. Israel never repented. Only 2.5. I always get this confused, but it's either 2 tribes or 2.5 tribes. If someone knows that, comment and correct me. But only 2 tribes came back. The rest of them never. There's no record of them ever repenting, and they're scattered amongst the nations. Now they will come back. And they are coming back.
I think something that's important to remember about this circumcision of the heart is it's actually I jumped to Jeremiah 4:4, which talks about circumcision. Circumcise yourselves unto Yahuah and take away the foreskins of your hearts. You men of Yehudah and inhabitants of Jerusalem, lest my wrath come forth like fire and burn with none to quench it because of the evil of your deeds. But right before that, it says, if you do return, O Yisrael, declares Yahuah, return to me and remove your abominations from my presence and cease straying. Like what we've talked about, coming back to Him, being rescued from the pig pen,
returning. Our last video and second Exodus.
Yeah, it just made me think, like, in order for that circumcision to occur, we have to have there's got to be an intentional decision to turn back to Him. For that to happen.
Absolutely. So okay. So we've established circumcision is forever. Okay. It's forever. Yah said it's forever. It's for all generations. And it's for those that are in the fold, the seed of Abraham. We've also established in Galatians and Ephesians 3, we established that if you believe in Messiah, you are the seed of Abraham. You've been grafted in. That's in Romans 11 and 9. You've been grafted in. You get to get grafted into the cultivated olive tree. I don't know if anybody's ever grafted a tree, but you literally grow it on another tree. Grow a twig or branch onto another tree. We get to be grafted in to that olive tree that's standing and strong and has been there for generations and has covenants and promises and is actually bringing forth fruit. Now, it didn't bring forth fruit for thousands of years and it's struggling and it's been cursed. But Yah's merciful, and Yah said, when you see the budding, when you see the budding of the fig tree, when you see it coming back, it's that generation. that generation shall not pass.
Yeah.
So we're seeing the budding of the fig tree right now. And we get to be grafted in to the tree of Israel.
Yes.
So establishing that it's forever, it's for you. Circumcision is for you. The law of Moses, the law of the Torah of Elohim is for you, for everyone. And you can come into the fold by the blood of Mashiach. And circumcision is forever. Torah is forever. Okay, so.
El is not a man to lie, nor a son of man to repent. Has he said, and would he not do it, or spoken and would not confirm it?
Okay, so Elohim does not lie. He does not lie. This is also in Romans 3:4. Let Elohim be true and every man a liar. Psalms 118. Trust Elohim, or trust Yahuah, and put no confidence in man. We're to put confidence in him.
Yep.
Titus 1:2 tells you Elohim doesn't lie. Hebrews 6:18 says it's impossible for Elohim to lie. He does not lie. You want to read Malachi 3:6?
Yes. For I am Yahuah, I shall not change, and you, O sons of Yaakov, shall not come to an end.
And that's awesome. So he doesn't lie, and Yahuah does not change. He does not change. When he says it's forever, he's not lying to you. He does not change. He doesn't change his mind.
Yeah.
James 1:17 says the Father of lights, in whom there is no change.
Yeah.
There is no changing. Isaiah 40 verse 8, the word of our Elohim will stand forever. It's unchangeable.
Yeah.
By the way, this word, it says, especially within the Targum, but if you read the Torah, it tells you this is the word. This is literally the word of Yah.
Yeah.
Came down on the Mount Sinai, not the Mount of Olives, but he will come on the Mountain of Olives.
Yeah.
But Mount Sinai, and spoke with Moses, and the mountain literally shook, and an earthquake. The people thought they were going to die because it was so powerful, and they were begging Moses, "Please tell him to stop, please, because he's going to kill us all." Okay. This was powerful. It was the actual words of our Father. Man, I want to listen to those words, right? I mean, shouldn't we want to go back and hear what he had to say? Right. And shouldn't we want to obey it? Shouldn't we want to grasp it and obey it?
Yeah, all throughout the Torah and prophets and Psalms, you have this repeated that he's unchanging and he does not lie. And there's a reason why I almost think those words had to be repeated over and over again, because he knew that, he says it in Deuteronomy that we would, forget him. Yeah. And he's constantly telling us to remember him in Deuteronomy, to remember his ways, to remember his Torah, because he knew we would forget it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's foundational. Who will you believe at the end, at the end of the day? Absolutely. Who will you believe? The Father, the Creator, who spoke those words and gave his Torah and gave his instruction to his children? Or will you believe one or two verses written by a man? Yeah. If we go to Acts 15, this is a common verse used to do away with the Torah and used to do away with the covenant of circumcision. Yeah. We know Yah doesn't lie, and we know Yah doesn't change. So either Yah is lying and Yah changed, or we have misunderstood Acts 15. And I'm going to go with Yah on this one. And we look at all of these covenants that he has made. We still have the promise of the rainbow, right? And we believe all of these covenants. He's not turned back his covenant promise, we still have the rainbow, right? It comes out after the rain. Sure. And we believe in those. As believers, we cling to these promises that he's made. So why would, if he hasn't changed, those haven't changed, why would anything else about his word change over time or evolve into something else or be just for a particular group of people?
Why would there be a different dispensation? Yeah. There's not. It's always the same group of people, the same assembly, trying to grasp and trying to get the covenants of Yah. Yah has promised so many things. He's promised so many things, and they're circumstantial. He says, if you do this, I'll do this. Yeah, he never changes. We are the ones who change. We are the ones who fail. Yeah. We're the ones who fail his covenant all the time. Yeah. But
Okay.
Okay, so anyways, this video is not about circumcision.
You're establishing circumcision.
I'm establishing,
because it's the very first verse.
Yeah, hopefully we can see that it's forever, and that it is for you, and meaning not just circumcision, but the Torah of the Father. That's a big thing in Acts 15, because it does say, they're questioning: should we tell them to keep the law of Moses? Should we tell them to get circumcised? I think these people were confused, just like the disciples were. The disciples didn't know right off the bat, like we mentioned. They just were they were like, well, we need to meet together on this because it's forever.
Yeah.
We know they probably should, but should we teach them to do this? Because it's really, honestly, of course we know this.
Yeah.
When we come into Torah, we didn't start off right off the bat like knowing all the unclean things that were in our kitchen. Okay, we knew not to eat bacon. We knew not to eat like sausage and easy things like that. Pork chops.
Yeah.
We got rid of that. But then we realized a couple years later, wow, there's pork and marshmallows. It's in everything. And so we started having to throw things out that we didn't even know we had been eating the whole time. Here's the deal. You have to grow. This is why it says work out your own salvation.
Yeah.
With fear and trembling.
Yeah.
You don't work out your own salvation and continue in paganism and hate the Torah.
Yeah.
That's not working out your own salvation.
Yeah.
Working out your own salvation is you're being saved by the blood of Messiah. And you go to the synagogues and learn on the Sabbath, learn about who our Father is and how to worship him. That's mentioned in Acts 15. But okay, so anyways, Peter stands up, Peter talks. Basically he's like, hey, let's not lay a burden on them. These are new converts in here. We don't immediately want to tell them to, hey, you got to go cut yourself. Go get circumcised.
Yeah.
Imagine being, a grown man deciding you want to follow Yah and so excited, man, I got the Holy Spirit. This is amazing. And the first thing they tell you is we got to take you in the back room real quick. My goodness. What a burden they were trying to lay on them right at the beginning. By the way, like I said before, the disciples really didn't know how to answer this question. Yeah. That's why they had to meet together.
Yeah.
Then Paul, they give Paul an opportunity to speak. He doesn't speak. And James the Just, this is the half-brother of Messiah, stands up, quotes Amos 9:11 through 12, word for word, quotes the prophets, which is amazing, which is just basically saying that the residue, verse 17, the residue of men might seek after Yahuah and all the Gentiles, upon whom my name is called, saith Yahuah, who doeth all these things. Verse 18, known unto Elohim are all his works from the beginning of the world. Verse 19, wherefore my sentence is, so he quotes Amos, and James the Just says, okay, because of what the prophets said, it's like, this is what I think we should do. Yeah. You want to read that?
Therefore I judge that we should not trouble those from among the nations, or the Gentiles, right?
Or the heathen,
The heathen.
These are people coming out of the nations into the fold.
Yeah, we should not trouble these people who are turning to Elohim, turning back. We've seen this repeatedly all throughout. You see it all throughout the prophets.
We see it in our own lives.
We're just continually back. And we're still turning back from ways that, we shouldn't be, things we shouldn't be doing, things that the Father is displeasing to the Father. And so, I think that's really important because he's basically saying, let's be long-suffering with them. Let's show them love. Let's have compassion on them. They're new to Torah. They're new
to Torah. They turn to Elohim. They're going to learn all the ways of Elohim. Give them some time. This is honestly reiterated in Colossians 2:16. This is another one. We'll do another video on Colossians, but it's the same idea. That we don't need to be out here. You've heard the term Torah terrorist. You don't need to be out here.
Heard that.
You never heard that?
No.
Well, it's someone who and honestly, I was that at the very beginning. We've said this before, but there's an Instagram account that we watched. It was Tiny Grain of Wheat that we listened to. She posted this thing, and I loved it. I'll never forget it. But she posted this thing and said, "I wish I had been quiet when I first was given Torah. I wish I had spent some time studying instead of speaking." And really, that's amazing. We saw something just this week.
Yeah.
where someone was comparing you to a tree.
Yeah.
And saying,
which we know we're compared to trees.
Sure, yeah. But within a tree within Torah, you're not supposed to eat of the fruit until the 5th year. So this tree's been given fruit this whole time. But if it's if you plant an orchard, you don't eat it until the 5th year. So that's something within Torah. I think when you first learn Torah, we're so excited.
Yeah.
And we want to get out. We want to tell everyone.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we have a debative spirit. And we get involved with a lot of Christians, and we just want to debate them. And believe me, Christians, they just like I was there.
Yeah.
We've been taught as a Christian. I was always taught how to defend against this.
Yeah.
A lot of these Christians think they're very knowledgeable. I thought I was so knowledgeable.
Yeah.
We grew up in church. You can watch more on our testimony coming out of Babylon, but we grew up in church. We thought we were very smart and that we knew.
But I think the more we can just study, and sit quietly, right?
Yeah.
To be quiet. And that's something that we did we were talking to people that were close around us, but we didn't get on social media or kind of like, there was a period of time where we studied because we didn't know. We were still testing all of it. We still are. Not the Torah, but there's so many things that we're continually learning and that we think we've even gotten right. And turns out we've gotten wrong, or we've had to make adjustments based on something new we've read within Torah.
And by the way, we're still learning.
Yeah, we're still learning. And that's something we've got to constantly be hungering and desiring and thirsting for is the truth, and for the revelation of truth. In righteousness. But what you were saying, I think, is important from Colossians 2:16. I think that's what you were saying, right? Let no man, is this that verse? Let no man therefore judge you in eating or in drinking, or in respect of a festival or new moon or Sabbath. That's a perfect. I think that's a perfect verse to support what James is saying here.
Well, we'll go on a bigger study of Colossians, but it's the exact same thing. It's saying, hey, I can sit here. As a Torah follower, I could go online right now and find many different calendars, many different beliefs on food, on beards, on all kinds of stuff, on all these commands, because a lot of it it's kind of gray in the way it's written, and depending on what translation you're using. So we're studying these things out. That's why we don't need to judge people within Torah or be mean to them. Within Torah, that people that are seeking Yah, this is exactly what it says in verse 19. These are Gentiles. The nations are turning to Elohim.
Yes.
If they're turning to Elohim, they're seeking Him and His ways.
And what you didn't, I don't think you may have read this, but I'm just going to repeat it, because I think why James is referring back to Amos is because Amos says that there will be a remnant of mankind that will seek Yahuah. Even all the nations on whom my name has been called. There is a remnant that is turning back, and these people, they're a remnant, there's always a remnant left. And there was a remnant. And so I think that's important also to understand that, he's saying, hey, listen, this is prophesied, and it also came to pass then, and it's coming to pass again right here. Here we are, and here we are, in modern day, 2023. And, we are sitting here in the same, it feels like we're just sitting right here in the same situation, where we're, I think there are those in Torah, we've talked about this, right? Like class of 2017 for us. But even there are some that there are so many brothers and sisters that have been in it longer, that are like 10 years into it, 15 years into it.
And we saw so many people in 2020 come in.
But I think that I'm learning from sisters that are new to Torah, and vice versa. But there's got to be more, patience. I think in the body, there's got to be more patience, and so I think that's what James is just reiterating here.
But this by no means means that we don't testify, or that we don't point out sin.
Sure.
Have nothing to do with the works of darkness. Rather expose them.
Yeah.
We should be exposing the paganism within our churches. We should be exposing them when they want to put up an Asherah pole in their church and want to worship it. and want to put an angel on top of it. Who's that angel they're putting on top of an Asherah pole?
Or they want to have a barbecue feast.
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, if they want to have a wild game supper, and they're selling pork. Come on, that's an abomination.
Bear.
And bear, yeah, they're selling all kinds of unclean animals. That's an abomination.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we don't point those things out and try to help them, but it does mean that we do it in a loving way, and that if someone turns around, does a 360, comes out of the pig pen and is coming back home, we got to help those people. We don't say, hey, you can't come back home unless you're circumcised or unless you quit eating pork.
Yeah.
We got to help them learn what it means to serve Yah and how beautiful it is.
Yes.
Because it's amazing.
Yes.
It's incredible. It's life-changing.
Yeah.
And we need to help those people. Okay, so getting back to Acts 15, this is the most amazing part. This is the part that I have no idea how Christians skip over this part. I have no idea. Okay, because first we've established that circumcision is forever. It's for you as the seed of Abraham. You are the seed of Abraham if you believe in Messiah, if you've accepted the blood of Messiah. So we've established that. So we go to Acts 15, verse 20, and this is James still talking. He says, okay, because of all this, he says, let's write unto them that they abstain from pollution of idols, and from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood. Okay, so he gives you some 4 commandments that they need to teach the Gentiles. This is 4 commandments not reiterated by Messiah, not reiterated within the New Testament, which the New Testament wasn't even written now. So if you believe that the New Testament is the new covenant and we have to follow the New Testament, they didn't have the New Testament. Yeah. These are the 4 commandments that early Gentiles coming into the fold, into the flock, into Elohim, to the seed of Abraham. These are commandments for them to follow. And by the way, they're from the Torah. The first one...
and they're dietary laws.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it's a dietary law.
They're not in the 10. They're not in the moral
Yeah, so
law.
if you're a Christian who believes everything is clean, it's telling you, James is telling you right now, as a Gentile, whoever you are, you can't eat all things. That all things are not clean.
Okay. Leviticus 19:26. Do not eat meat with the blood. And do not practice divination or magic.
Also, Deuteronomy 12:16. Only you shall not eat the blood. You shall pour it upon the earth as water. This is mentioned in other places, not to eat blood. That it's the life of the animal or the life of the human. We aren't to eat blood. These 4 commands come from the Torah. They're Torah commands. They're not part of the so-called moral law or the civil law or whatever you want to call them. Those, by the way, that's not scriptural.
I was going to say that, yeah.
It's not scriptural at all, but I know that's the argument, is that we're only to keep the moral law. It's not scriptural. There's nowhere that separates it into different kinds of laws. They're all the commands of Elohim. They're all the Torah, the eternal Torah, and the things that we are supposed to keep as Christian, not as Christians, but as believers in Messiah.
Yeah.
Basically, it goes on from there. And this verse is amazing. Verse 21, for Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. Now, if Sabbath's done away with, which we believe, Christians believe, okay, Sabbath is our rest. I mean, Jesus is our rest. There is no Sabbath. If we believe that, why is he reiterating it here? Why is he telling you that Moses is taught in the Sabbath?
Teaching it.
Yeah, it's being taught in the Sabbath. If the law of Moses is done away with and it's evil, it's actually wrong to go back to it. Yeah. Why is he telling you to do it here? Yeah. Why is he saying that it's taught, the law of Moshe is taught in the synagogues every Sabbath? He's telling you this. He said, give them 4 commands to keep, to start out with.
And they could have been commands that they knew that they were struggling with, or that they were breaking.
Yeah, surely they knew not to murder, and surely they knew not to commit adultery already.
Yeah.
But he actually tells them no fornication.
Yeah.
But he gives them these commands that maybe they didn't know they couldn't eat blood. Maybe they loved a medium rare steak, Yeah. Maybe they didn't know this, and so he gives them commands immediately right off the bat. From the Torah that they need to keep. And then he tells them, hey, if you want to learn more, basically they're teaching the law of Moses every Sabbath day at the synagogues. Go and learn more, figure it out, know. So he's telling them to keep the Sabbath right there.
Yeah, and I think, in what's really something that sticks out to me is verse 28, where he says, "For it seemed good to the set apart spirit and to us to lay upon you no greater burden than these necessities, that you obtain from what is offered to idols and blood and what is strangled and whoring. If you keep yourselves from these, you shall do well and be strong."
Absolutely. So this is Paul later
yes,
on,
I'm
because
sorry. Yes.
after this, they send out Paul. And,
Paul's reiterating these?
Yeah. Paul, Barnabas, Judas, Barsabbas, and Silas.
Yeah.
And they're sending them out. And basically, Paul's going around writing these letters to the churches, telling them this is what... By the way, where are those letters?
Yeah.
Where are his letters that he's telling you to keep Torah? Because he's telling you right now that they sent out letters to keep these Torah commands. So that's basically it.
Yeah.
And so I think what is amazing, if you are a new to Torah believer, or if you are a Christian, or someone who, I guess, you believe in Messiah. Maybe you don't know the Torah, maybe you don't believe in the Torah. This right here is the first 4 commands the disciples told the new converts to keep. So this is the first things that maybe we should all be doing. Well, not maybe, we should all be doing these, which I think is incredible that this is in Acts, and that this part is skipped over. And I think really, like I said, we want to go and kind of, we want to talk about these laws,
Right.
These things that are really Yahuah's ways,
Right.
that we can be closer to him and seek him and to know him. But also, we want to discuss certain things like this. If you've just, kind of been told, hey, I was watching I was telling you this, I was watching a debate with, was Adam Stanley? Andy, I can't remember his name. Andy Stanley, and I think it was Jeff Durham or something like that. I know them. I don't really watch any of them at all, but I do know that both of them do not like the Torah.
Yeah.
And they believe it's done away with. And and this was just a few days ago, but I heard him say, he sat there and he said, what's great is Acts 15 tells us we don't have to keep the law anymore, and that burden's not on us, But that's the problem, and that's why we want to do more videos like this and kind of expose some of the lies that we've been told that certain verses mean.
Yeah, and that are being spread throughout the churches today.
Absolutely, absolutely, because it's all designed by Hasatan.
Yes.
To get you away from the whole duty of man, and that is to fear Elohim and to keep his commandments. Yeah. If you've accepted the grace of Yahuah through the blood of Messiah, and you don't keep the commands, is that within James, I think it says that there is no sacrifice for you anymore. Yeah. If you return to iniquity, and you return to sin, which is transgression of the Torah, there's no more sacrifice for you. Yeah. You've neglected the blood of Messiah, which is ironic, because by going back to the commands, I've been told for years now that I'm neglecting Messiah. Yeah. But it's actually the exact opposite. Yeah. Unfortunately, because coming back through the blood of Messiah is all about seeking the Father. It's all about coming back to the way, the narrow path. Yes, amen. So, anything else? No, I think that was well said. We kept it. Look, it's 44 minutes. Wow. Well, we had 10 minutes. I don't know. We're going to have to edit it, so I don't know. Hopefully it'll be under 15 minutes for everyone. We're trying to do these a little shorter. But, so, anyways, thank y'all for listening. If anyone was listening, hopefully this was helpful. I know that this would have been helpful for me when I was first coming to Torah. And hopefully, hopefully we can do more like these. Yeah. So, anything else you want to say? No. Shabbat Shalom. Have a restful, blessed day. Absolutely. Yeah. Shalom. All right. See you.